Oh, man. Caught me mid-bite. What's going on, world? Very unprofessional right now. Very colored. I'm eating watermelon. Anyways, guys, the Jag, as I told you guys, we're going to increase the content. You know, we have Jags talk right now. No better time to talk people through and talk people off the ledges when you're losing. And I like to call myself the Fraser Crane, the Black Fraser Crane of sports talk radio. So I'm here to help you get through this bad time. But if you've been in Jacksonville for the last 17 years, like I've been, you've realized that you've had more bad times than good times. I've been covering the Jaguars for 10 years. Of that 10 years, there have been 3 happy years, really 2 happy years where you made the playoffs. One where, man, we can sniff the playoffs, which was last season, and it didn't happen. But now you go from what the black people, the old heads used to call sugar to shit. And 0-3 is not an optimal way to start. But one of the things that you cannot do is drop a quarter of your games and expect to be able to make the playoffs. So the Jags are in a situation where it's not necessarily must win, but a win would definitely put them on the track. But the problem is they're playing one of what I consider the better teams and definitely the leaders of the AFC South and the Houston Texans. So what I wanted to do was bring on the enemy a little bit, bring behind the scenes. And there's nobody who knows Houston sports in general more than my guy, Big Sarge. I've got a chance to know him over the years. He's a phenomenal talent. Keeps it a buck. Tells exactly how it is. And he's just a generally good guy. I love going to the combine. He's one of the people that I really enjoy seeing and chopping it up with. But I'm going to bring, without further ado, I'm going to bring my brother up here, Big Sarge. What's going on with you, my brother?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Hey, listen, man, let me tell you this, brother. First of all, let me get the pleasantries out the way. I appreciate this, man. And, you know, I feel the exact same way, brother. You was always there for me when I had my, sports talk with a Big Sarge radio show. I could always count on you once a week to, tap in. And I'm glad, you know what? I'm glad that I'm able to put eyes on you tonight. I'm able to put eyes on you right now because between Florida State and Jacksonville, bro, I didn't know. I was like, I thought you was gonna be on Diddy Watch.
Yeah, man, it's definitely tough. The cool thing is I cover the Jags.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. So it's different. I can do my job a lot different than everybody else. So I'm so non-emotional when it comes to it. So like last year when everybody was like, this, I'm like, guys, they averaged 4 wins a year since I've been here. Like this is exciting. I tell them, and we started this, me and Denny talked about this. The most important thing entering the football season as a Jags fan is to not talk about the draft in November. We want to be playing meaningful games in November.
Yeah.
So right now, we got to win a couple, so I'm not talking about the draft come November. Then after you win some games in November, it's like, hey, let's just make December. I don't want to talk about Christmas yet. I don't want to talk about – so the last couple of years, I'm like, hey, I ain't had to just go and really look at college to find who's going to solve the problems. And then 2017 was so great that we all forgot our jobs, like the rest of the jobs that we're supposed to do in talking sports because we made that run. And then I'm not going to lie. My son is a Jags fan, but that's because he's a local. I'm not from here. Florida State stinks, and that hurts because it hurts. Just what makes the Jags frustrating is that it doesn't make sense. And I have my problem, and I don't know if this is a Leo thing or just me. I have to understand it. Like I want to understand why you think or do what you do when sometimes there is no explanation. They just suck or they're dumb. And I think that's the hard part is that it shouldn't be this hard. But
yeah. And you know what's so crazy though, man? I was talking to CJ in the locker room. I think it was last week. And I was like, the crazy part is Bryce is in the league, you in the league, and the person that was ranked higher than you throughout your whole high school career is still playing quarterback at Florida State.
Yeah, man.
was like, dang,
And
how long he gonna be in college, man? When he coming out, bro? He gonna be a teacher's aide in a minute.
listen, man, he could go, and now his dad is a big guy, a very angry guy.
Yeah,
But
I know.
at this point, man, I think DJ that was really good use of a gas station commercial. Circle K gave him a good little. He got an endorsement deal from Circle K. But could this be us seeing what he's going to be in the future, like managing a gas station? Because I think that's really, 99% of all athletes go pro in something other than their sport. And that's what we're looking at right now with DJU because, man, he is not a great thrower of the football. But you brought it up. What does it feel like to have the feelings of a franchise quarterback? Because I remember at the combine, we saw that. We were there. It was a show.
Yeah.
CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson put on the show. Bryce decided that in order to make weight, he wanted to look like me and you now. So he didn't do any of the workouts. Yeah. But what does it feel like to be like, we were right? Of all the quarterbacks that were taken in that time, because boy, I tell you, CJ has looked outside of last week, has looked relatively amazing in his first year and a half, a year and a quarter in the league.
It's so crazy because I was here in 2017 when I was covering the team when the Texans drafted what they thought was the future franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson, and Watson in the locker room and CJ in the locker room is two totally different people, man. And listen, don't get me wrong. I think that, coming out of college, Deshaun Watson was one of the most talented quarterbacks I had seen in a very long time. I mean, to go up against the Alabama team back to back and play like they did, man, I'm saying to myself, yo, this guy has it. And when Houston jumped up and decided to take him, I said, okay, I can see that he's one of those guys that could be in the league a very long time and be very productive. But the problem is that in the locker room, he just didn't. It never seemed to me like Deshaun Watson had that leadership, that it when it comes to leadership off the field. And of course, we know what he's been accused of, what he's went through as far as some of the off the field activities that he's participated in allegedly. But he never had it was never that feeling in the locker room. It was always like he was isolated almost. But when he stepped onto the field, the talent and the way that he played, man, I mean, think about it. The year I think they had 4 wins. He had a career year, and he kept that team afloat. Man, sometimes we didn't even know. I was like, so what University of Houston wide receivers they finna go get to help him to play this week? And so it was one of those things. CJ, as soon as CJ came into the conference room after he got drafted, the very next day when him and Will walked into that conference room, man, you could just feel it. It was a different type of aura about him. When you walk into the locker room now, it's just a different type of aura. That young man has that it factor, James. I know you especially you playing the game at the highest level, what it's like when a guy walks into the locker room, you say, okay. And when most people look at it like, oh man, he's just a rookie quarterback. Like you couldn't even tell he was a rookie. It almost seemed like he was like a 4-year veteran. The way he maneuvers around that locker room, the way that he rallies his teammates, the way he goes about his business, man. And so the players on the team always feel like they always have a chance. As long as number 7 is in the game, they feel like they always have a chance to win. Off the field, he's one of those guys that he's accessible. You can go talk to him. He'll chop it up with you, but he's about his business as well. So, man, being able to cover this young man and everything, and he comes from a humble background. He comes from a strong parent household, and we know the situation. What's going on with his father. He's strong in trying to bring about prison reform, but his mom being the backbone, being who she is, man. He told me another story. He told me last week. He's like, my mama wouldn't let me quit. He said the adversity that I went through in middle school, high school, like I went through a lot. And my mom was like, hey, you're going to stand there. You're going to face it. And he said, that's what made me the player today. So, a long story, even longer. It's a breath of fresh air. Going through the 3 years what we've been through before he got here is like it's a total like I mean the team has done a total 180, and the communication that he has not only with the players but with D'Amico. Him and D'Amico, they have this understanding where it's almost like, hey, look, CJ, go do your thing. And he's like, I got it, coach. And vice versa. Hey, coach, what you need me to do? Anything you need to do. So, yes, man, he is definitely a breath of fresh air.
I'm gonna go back in time for a little bit because we can have fun on this show now. You know, just for what I always warn people: don't let me get you fired because I can't fire myself. So like they'll Baker Act me, but the nut ass freak bull is what we call him, and that's Deshaun Watson.
Wow.
You were talking about all this other stuff, like, you know, the guys in the locker room didn't really like. Was it because they knew this was a freaky frog, or what? Just all jokes aside, that trade seems like it literally transformed what the Texans were doing, and they were able to make the most out of it. Obviously, got your quarterback, got some other key pieces. Did people really did it hurt at first? And do we really believe that the owner maybe they did, like, you know, they're saying Diddy is getting all this stuff being exposed because he tried to sue the liquor company that he was with. And so they said, okay, well, fine, we're gonna get all. Is that what happened with Deshaun, or is he really out here getting touched by 300 different women in a year span?
Hey man, listen, I don't know. All I know is look, COVID was a wild time for number 4, because here that's what we call him. We call him number 4. Hey, man, when number 4 was here, woo! So, you know, allegedly, and it's so crazy because when I first, so I was I think I was the first media member to get that information. And the only thing I put out was, hey man, you too rich and famous to be doing things like this, because the problem is, and the problem for him is, what was it, just a couple of weeks ago, another accuser came out.
I don't believe that one.
But there's more though. There's more. You know how many cases they could have brought so many cases at one time. Like there's a lot of, and don't get me wrong, all of this is alleged, you know, all of this is accusations made by these women. And so I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. Right. You know, hey, look, the only massages I get is from the chair that they have at the gym. You know, it's open, it's public. They got video. You can see that. I got a massage chair in my house. I even stopped going to massage in because I'm like, hey, look, I don't want nothing coming out saying that I did this, that, and other. So no, man. But the way that the trade went down, man, and I'm gonna be honest with you, because you know, so I covered the Houston Texans, but I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. So I was around when the Herschel Walker trade went down. This is the Texans Herschel Walker trade.
Wow.
The return that they've been able to get trading Deshaun Watson, I mean, it totally turned the franchise around. And it wasn't one, so it didn't take a lot for Cal McNair to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. You have a young man who, one, was disgruntled, didn't want to play for the franchise. Because you remember, before all the allegations came out, he had already said, I don't want to play here anymore. And, you know, some things transpired before all of the allegations came out. And, you know, Bill O'Brien left a bad stain on this franchise, man. He literally, figuratively, burned down the house before he walked away from it. And so they had to go in a total rebuild and rebuild this thing. And so getting that trade, shout out to General Manager Nick Caserio for being able to do that, to being able to pull that off and to rebuild this franchise. And I'm going to tell you, the architect, and a lot of people in Houston knows this, and I'm just going to reiterate it. One of the main architects, outside of what Cal McNair did, what Nick Caserio did, what D'Amico did when he got here, one of the main architects is Hannah McNair, Cal's wife. She got to the point where it was just like, we're not going to be this type of franchise. We're not going to be embarrassed. And She got herself involved in some of the day-to-day activities. And when she got herself involved in some of the day-to-day activities, this franchise turned around.
Gotcha. That's again, awesome situation and hitting on the coach. I like D'Amico, man. I don't want him to win on Sunday, but I want him to win in life. And yes, it is. It's because he's black. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, yes, I want a black coach to win, but I also we're around the same age. So like, he played with a couple of my college teammates and different things of that nature. So I know the type of guy that he is. Explain to us how the season. Obviously, there's expectations that come with with a young team and having a nucleus with the success that they had last year. Sophomore slump would have been expected because that's what we all know things can happen. How do you feel going into? Obviously, we'll just go ahead and we'll say a quarter of the season is done just to round up. How do you guys feel about the Texans with the first quarter of the season?
So, and it's funny because we just had this conversation on back-to-back days. We had this conversation. So it all focuses around the offense, because when you have a quarterback like CJ Stroud, and then you have Nico Collins, who leads the league in receiving yards, then you have Tank Dell, and then you have Stephon Diggs, Joe Mixon, who's hurt, but hopefully they can get him back here in a couple of weeks. And, you got Dalton Schultz. And so you have an offense that when you look at that offense on paper, it looks explosive. Like you can just look and you see the amount of talent that's on this team, and you say, wow. And then you go to OTAs, you'd be like, okay. You go to training camp, you'd be like, okay. See them play a couple of series in the preseason. You'd be like, all right, they got a little something. But then when it's time to play the game, when it's time to go on the field and play in real time, when it's time to go up against some of these very good players, some of these great players on the defensive side of the ball, when you got to match X's and O's with these defensive coordinators. Because remember now, Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator, has only called 20 games. Like this will be his 21st game of being an offensive coordinator. Wow. And so and CJ's 21st game as a starter in the NFL. So a lot of expectations has been put on this team. Remember last year they were hunting. This year they're being hunted because they overachieved. If you looked at what the Houston Texans did last year, nobody expected them to make the postseason. Nobody expected them to win the AFC South. Hey, thank you, Jacksonville. Appreciate that one. Nobody expected them to beat Cleveland, a team who they had lost to 2 weeks prior by getting blown out. They beat them. They go into Baltimore in the divisional round, and they have the number one seeded Baltimore Ravens tied 10-10 at the half. They just didn't have enough players and firepower to sustain in that second half. And we all seen what happened. And so now you look at that, look at the numbers that CJ Stroud put up, look at what Will Anderson Jr. did. So now this team comes in and you say, damn, some of them have them, predicted to go to at least to the AFC Championship, something that this franchise has never done before. So you say, wow, okay, cool. Let's start. They have a slow start against Indianapolis. They have a slow start on the offense side of the ball against Chicago. This past week against the Minnesota Vikings, they don't even score until the third quarter. This is the first time they have been shut out, I think, since week 11 against the New York Jets in the first half. And you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, whoa, it's too much offensive firepower for y'all not to score a point. I mean, it looked crazy, especially CJ, had that turnover on the second play of the game. Remember, they started out with a penalty, then a turnover, and then you look up, now they down 14-0. And so, yes, you look at the record, they're 2-1. They should be 3-0 if you're going by looking at what they do. It's just that this team hasn't hit their peak yet. And what I mean by haven't hit their peak is it hasn't all come together. CJ said it. Bobby Slowick has said it. And so, and this may be the week. And I'm not just saying it's because they're playing against Jacksonville, but they're going into week 4 and they need to be able to take it up another level because right now it's just they're average. They're average. I think they're 11th. I had this thing written down. I think that they're 11th in passing. Yeah, I got it right here. So they're 11th in NFL total offense, 8th in passing, and 17th in rushing yards. And so they gotta get going this week because next week Buffalo comes to NRG, and we just seen what Buffalo did to. Well, I ain't gonna keep harping on the fact that it's the Jags, and you know what I'm doing it because there's a lot of Jags fans that talk a lot of trash. And I was like, hey, when last time y'all won a game though? Wasn't it against Houston? Yeah,
Did we
that's the last. That's the last win.
We won in, but it was in because I remember when y'all came to Jacksonville last year, and that was my first time watching CJ. Yeah, I said, and I was cussing. You're not supposed to cuss or cheer in the press box, and I don't cheer cuss. It was just more so just like, God damn,
yeah,
his feet are stupid. It's just like he's not looking down at the pass. It's just he just feels it. He's not trying to run. He's not panicking. He's holding on to the ball, and it just carving us up. Which is, again, you're getting the Jacksonville team that one seems to be able to let teams find their mojo. Again, going back to the nut ass freak bull. When I watched week 1 of the Browns, I said, this is going to be this is easy victory. They may put Jameis ass in there. Right. And then he comes in and he does, I think he went 8 for 10 on the first couple drives. I'm like, man, what the hell is going on here? Like, he was carving our defense up, and then we won't even talk about what Josh Allen did to the Jags. It just was that could in New York State you could be arrested for that kind of molestation that they were able to accomplish there.
Hey James, well, let me ask you a question because let me ask you another question. Am I allowed to ask you questions?
Yeah, please do.
Ooh, so what's up with the head coach, man? Like I didn't think that the head coach would be the one that we would be looking at with this team underachieving like that. And I'm talking about Jacksonville.
Right. Well, the funny thing is I did a show with the Jags with a good friend of mine, Travis Holmes, who does the Duval Dive on this channel on their media group. For those who haven't got an opportunity, please subscribe. If you watch Big Games BS Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, once we get to 7,000 subs, we will be giving away $500 to a lucky listener. And if you're a member, you get an opportunity to get $200. So you can win twice. But the Philadelphia Eagles gave us a gift. And this is what they said right after Doug Peterson was fired, because everybody was like, how do you fire a coach, I believe, a season and a half after he won you a Super Bowl? It's not like it's a lot of guys winning Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Refusal to change. Press Taylor is his offensive coordinator. He made the change with Mike Caldwell on defense, but there was more problems than just the defense. Yeah. You could not score in situations where you should have scored. Injuries. They had a lot of injuries in Philly. Right now, the Jags are battling a lot of injuries. Though it's more pertinent or it pertains more to college, your S&C and your medical staff is a big part of the reason why your off-season conditioning program is a reason why you get hurt. You need to make sure your guys are there. On top of, you only get 53 slots. Mm-hmm. Technically more with the new but if you're a practice squad player, you're probably not. You could get elevated, but you're a practice squad player for a reason. Yeah. But you need to make sure you have the players that are adapted to the situations that you want to run. So, like, if you've got 3 injuries at corner, but you want to be a press man team, you need to make sure you have a bunch of press man corners.
Yeah.
Which now they don't seem to have that. The regression of Carson Wentz. Now, we can replace that with the regression of Trevor Lawrence. Year 1, we saw Trevor play at a really, really high level, had a lot of quarterback guys around him. Last year, when we thought he should take another step, he might have took a half step down. And when you compare where he's at now, it's clear that you can make an argument about regression.
Didn't he get an extension, though, too?
He sure did. He just got paid. And it's very difficult to do anything about it right now.
Wow.
Randomized play calling. This is what the person put. It feels like, at points, a teenager playing Madden calling the plays. Now, a
Wow.
lot of fans say stuff like that without understanding, but there's really no. I like to be able to make it. Just because you come up with bullshit doesn't mean that my retort needs to be that.
Yeah.
I don't have an intelligent retort for them because I'm wondering, trying to figure out what the hell we're calling it and what makes sense and things of that nature. And when you look at how one thing that as we call them in Jacksonville, so forgive me if you're new to my channel, I talk how I want to talk. We call them pilgrims here in Jacksonville. That's what we call white people. Cool whites. Now they will say something else if you're not a cool white, but a pilgrim's cool white. And I like Dylan. He's a good pilgrim. But pilgrims read body language for everybody except for their own sometimes. When you see Cam Newton after a loss, people bashed him for that. When you see certain things that happen, Doug is always smiling. Yeah. It ain't nothing funny when you're losing like that.
Yeah.
And it shows whether right, wrong, or indifferent, do you really want to be here? Are you willing to win? Those are the 5 reasons that somebody wrote for why the firing of Doug Peterson in Philadelphia rang true. And it's crazy when you come back and you can look at those same 5 things and they haven't changed. Yeah. And that's not a good thing necessarily. So we've got to work on that. But I don't think it's just Doug Peterson is the problem. I think the problem with the Jacksonville Jaguars is that where I believe the Texans, and you can speak more intelligently on this than I can, at a certain point when a coach gets fired, you have to eradicate yourself of everything that was there. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes you gotta, when a house is condemned, you gotta gut the house. You gotta get the good bleach. I mean, like to the stripping the floorboards and you bleaching all the corners of the house. The Jaguars have never done that before. Every time they make a change, there's always somebody left over. Yeah. Now, who would that person be? I think it's Trent Baalke. And Trent Baalke was there under Urban. Trent was there. Trent got there. We hired Trent under Caldwell. Dave Caldwell. He was there under Urban. He was there under a lot of mid.
Speaking of freaky, Urban Meyer.
Yeah, man. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off, man. I just had to
even with that, man, just again, it just even some of the hires, he's got to be able to, he's got to go in, and I know he's not going to get rid of Press, but he's got to Nino Brown it. You know, he's got to take him up with G Money. Like you got to take him up to the top of the building.
Yep.
And you got to put the gun to the head and just say, man, CMB, we all we got, man. Am I my brother's keeper? You gotta do that because Press isn't your keeper right now. Yep. Your offense is stale, and then the defensive guy that you brought in clearly does not know how to adapt what he does to the product that's there, which I blame on Trent. Because if this is the case, right, our draft and free agency should mirror that. And instead of trying to get guys on discounts, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big Ronald Darby fan, Florida State guy, can't run, man, a little long in the tooth. NFL years, he's old yeller. Yeah. And, you did go get Jerry and Jones. You got some other guys that are pretty good, but you don't have enough depth. And I think the message must be a little stale for him right now.
Yeah.
Because you got guys, and again, I said this, and I that shit hurts. Plantar fasciitis hurts, right?
Yeah, it does.
Don't get me wrong. I got sciatic. My sciatic bothers me. I got it, but I'm 40-something years old. Yeah. I'm not in peak condition anymore. I play with a broken hand. I play with a contusion in my quad. I play with all kinds of injuries in football. You're going to be injured. When I hear a guy has to be put on IR or PUP, because of inflammation, this isn't you in the wrong sport. This isn't we got hockey. You got hockey players out here with one tooth dangling and just like they're blasting each other. It's like when I see that, I'm just like, yo, brother, my brother in Christ, what are we doing here, man? Would you be out with plantar fasciitis if the Jags were 3-0? Injuries hurt more when you're getting your ass whooped.
Yep. And
when you don't feel like you know what you're playing for, because then when you don't know what you're playing for, you got to play for self. And that never worked because it's the ultimate team game. So so Doug is, and to be honest with you, Shad came out. Shad was not happy. Shad Khan, the owner, was not happy the way this season ended last year at all. Like Shad said that you better win. And when a billionaire says stuff like that, in the Bangham, what they used to call murder cap Jacksonville, Doug might be in a bar somewhere. Like they might get with some cement shoes.
Yeah.
But like, those are the things he does. They are going to feel the pressure. But you paid your quarterback because you thought he was a franchise guy. And I don't even want to go get actually, let me go with my issues with Trent, if you will. You had 2 first-round picks out the gate. Mm-hmm. And you spend them on Trevor Lawrence, which at the time, I'm not overly mad at you. Everybody knows common sense tells you could get a running back in rounds 3 to 5, if not free agency, which you had James Robinson at the time. Mm-hmm. But you go and you draft a guy 32nd instead of going to find somebody that can help you on the other side of the ball or another pass catcher. You have Gardner Minshew, who you forced to tank for Trevor.
Yeah.
You don't even attempt to give Trevor an opportunity to sit. And one of the things that I had to explain to people, they don't realize this, Trevor Lawrence in no aspect of his life has ever had to sit behind somebody and watch and learn how to play the quarterback position. That's not always good. He started as a freshman in high school. He basically he took over the job as a freshman in college. And he came out day one and took over the job.
Yeah.
He has to learn. He never got a chance to learn. Gardner it's a reason why Gardner Minshew keeps getting picked up. He's not the pretty girl at prom, but he is the girl that's going to say yes, and that's going to give you a good time. That's why he's in Vegas. That's why he was in Indy with Ant. Like, he's a good stopgap guy if you need to get somewhere, which would have been perfect because Gardner wanted to play for the opportunity to prove himself.
Yeah.
So you could have given him the opportunity to prove himself while slowly bringing Trevor along because obviously he's not ready. You don't get him any weapons around him. And obviously Urban was a big debacle.
But wait, James, hold on. Let me ask a question. I got to ask this question because listen, I'm only watching from the outside looking in. I watch from the outside. I observe from the outside. It's one of my jobs to make sure I watch all the rest of the AFC South teams because of, I cover the Texans. But James, how can you, I don't see how you can justify sitting a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, especially with what he did in college, coming out of college, being as successful as he was in college. How do you justify that if you're taking him number 1 overall?
Same reason you draft a defensive end that didn't get any sacks at Georgia, number 1 overall, and Trayvon Walker, and expect him to be a cornerstone on your D-line. You drafted him. Trayvon Walker had like 5 sacks in college. And then we drafted him number 1 overall the next year. I say that because he's a good player. You know what he can be. You also got to look at the talent that he has surrounding him in college and how it looked at college. And do you have the wide receivers to do that with him?
Yeah.
And so it's really less of an indictment on Trevor and more of you doing an honest assessment and indictment of your roster. Yeah. So give me your wide receiver core for the Texans right now.
Right now?
Yeah, right now. Who y'all got?
Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs.
I draft a quarterback with those 3 guys. We about to go cook.
Yeah. But hold on now. Remember though, when they drafted CJ, they had Nico, but Nico was coming off of injury. He had missed the last couple of games because of a lower body injury. They didn't have Tank, and they didn't know what Tank was. They knew Tank was good coming out of college, but they really didn't know what they had. You don't have him. But you bring in Noah Brown, and you got Robert Woods. And so he didn't have all of the weapons.
He's much better weapons this year. Much better weapons this year. And I would have argued against again, but even your expectations for CJ coming in, he exceeded those in year 1. So Trevor, I'm again, if you got to play him, you got to play him. It's not a problem. I'm looking at hindsight going backwards, and just saying, hey, this is probably what they should have done or could have done. Because again, even with that, we still got stankiness on the roster that we haven't gotten. And then y'all also addressed your O-line, if I remember correctly.
Well, at the time, but you still had Laramie Tunsil, who is one of the top 5 left tackles in the game. Titus Howard who's a very good right tackle. You bring in Shaq Mason, who is I think won Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. But here's the tricky part. Remember now, they had Scott Quessenberry as center, and then they had to replace him. The person that they drafted, the player, that they drafted, Juice Scruggs, was hurt for the majority of the year at first. So now you're starting another rookie in Jared Patterson. Then you're rotating that that left guard position, because the guard that they drafted, Kenyon Green, got hurt in the preseason. He was out the entire time. So now you got CJ playing with a rookie center. You got a rotating left guard because they bring in Kendrick Green, who came from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who the Steelers didn't even want. Like at one point, what's Omar Epps' name? Omar Epps Sr.
Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. Mike Tomlin was like, this guy is horrible. They were like giving him away, and they brought him in, and then he got hurt. And so don't forget, Titus Howard also at the right tackle position got hurt, but they had a comparable, a very good fill-in for him in George Fant. So
we ain't got no good feelings for nothing.
But Cam CJ Robinson didn't have the best.
Cam Robinson is I got told people, and I made people laugh yesterday. It's one of my shorts on the YouTube.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever seen Cam Robinson get aggressive is with my petite pumpkin spice princess, Mia O'Brien, who works the beat. Like, she asked him 2 off seasons ago if they were bringing Walker Little in. That's the most aggressive I've seen him ever in a football uniform. Wow. To a 5 foot. If she's I don't even want to guess her weight because I know she ain't over 100. Yeah. But bottom line is probably pocket ass woman that he can put it like. That's the only time he got aggressive. The Cam is out here getting bruised. We drafted Anton, but they had what's my guy he's with? He's the one who basically got the whole NFL looking at right tackles and the way they line up. He's with Kansas City now.
I know you're talking about. I can't.
He was with us, and he jumped off sides every damn play. Anyway, we don't have anybody. Our center's good, but we just brought him into free agency. But right now, our offensive line is putrid. So putrid O-line play with a quarterback that don't know where he's going with the ball, with guys that even when they do create separation, because this is my other thing. How tall is CJ so I can make sure I prove my theory?
I think CJ, hold on, I got a roster right here.
Is he like 6'2"?
6'3".
6'3".
Yeah.
Trevor's 6'6".
Yeah. I always
thought I didn't think he was real at first. You said what?
I didn't think he was real at first. He looks made up, man. When I first seen him in person, I was like, bro, are you real? Like he looks like he's like AI. He's an artificial intelligence looking type person.
Go get a picture of Ann Coulter and then put it right next to Trevor Lawrence, and you'll be like, yo, I can't unsee what I just saw.
And hey, look, man, I didn't mean to cut it off, man. I mean, I mean to cut you off, but I'm petty like that. My bad, bro. But you said he's 6'6".
Tall quarterbacks have a propensity to let the ball. They don't throw. They have to throw it down. And if they're getting pressure, quarterback's natural. When you release the ball, your arm is up, so the ball naturally sails. And the only reason I paid attention to it more on Monday is because damn it, I need it. I needed more than 7 points out of Brian Thomas Jr. because we have a Sports Den fantasy football league, and I was in some tough competition. And that boy was wide open, and he overthrew him to the damn Walking Dead. What's the boy name that's supposed to die? That we all saw down the football.
Yeah, you called him the Walking Dead.
What? I was so mad. I'm talking about, bro. There's guys who stream themselves when watching games.
Yeah.
And if I had streamed, I'd have been canceled.
Yeah.
I'd been like, man, you're supposed to be dead, man. How you getting interceptions, man? If what was supposed to happen happened, we would have been okay. But but you know what I'm saying? It's just things like that. In the back of the end zone, you have these things. He just throws the ball, and I'm just like, yo, my G, what's going on here? But I'll say this is that obviously Monday wasn't close. Monday was not even like that game. I don't even know if we won the coin toss. I don't think we won any aspect of that game at any point. Was there any hope to be had?
Yeah.
The Browns game, the first 2 games, though, the Jags should have won. They were in position, especially the Dolphins game. Again, Travis Etienne, nobody has hurt me more personally than Travis Etienne. Like, if they ever said, James, show us on the dog where Travis Etienne has hurt you, I can point everywhere. And here's why I say that. I had to witness this man for 4 years demolish my alma mater. All could he run? I saw him not only in the open field. There's a guy one-on-one. He's doing a little shimmy, and then he's scoring. And he did to us what Dalvin Cook did to so many other people's hopes and dreams. And it bothered me. So when we drafted him, I said, you know what? I don't think we should have drafted him at 32. But hey, if he works, he works.
And then you traded the other running back to the Jets, right?
Yep. Now he was hurt. Now we got to, that was messed up. But I think that's the karma is coming back to us because we traded damaged goods.
Yeah.
We got all this going. For me to see Travis Etienne can't dodge a light pole, can't run away from anybody anymore. And what really hurt was I think I had a parlay. In my parlay, I had Travis Etienne scoring the touchdown. And bottom line, I would have hit my parlay. The Jags would have won, and he would have got what I needed. I think I had Jags with the points, Jags winning outright. It was something crazy. It wasn't a lot of money, but $10 would have got me like $1,000. And I'm with, it's playing a lotto, but I was happy. This motherfucker fumbled the ball going into the end zone.
Yeah.
It's going to be that kind of season. I said, I can already see. When I seen that happen, I said, we lose. I mean, my partner, Chris, who I do First Coast News with, always gives me the talking point. I'm talking about, I kid you not. I was so happy. I'm over here, pull my phone out. I'm texting notes.
Yeah.
I'm like, here's who I saw looking pretty good. Here's the jokes we're going to have about Tyreek Hill getting hemmed up by the police, which I also blame them. I blame the police. When I told Luke, actually, Luke put a wise person told me to take so I told Luke to take the Dolphins after I saw Tyreek Hill get jammed up.
Because you knew he was going to go off.
I said, this man finna be, they done made this man mad. This man can play the game. He is finna, so he fumbles it. And what do they do the next play? 80 yards to the damn house. I said, boy, these cats out here, man.
You know what, James? I'm going to tell you who I'm more, I'm going to be honest with you. You know who I'm very disappointed in when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Who?
Evan Ingram.
He's hurt right now.
Ain't he always hurt?
Yeah, you're right. He had his good year last year, got paid, hamstring. That's the problem with these people when they get paid. They start buying their body parts. They start buying Timo body parts. Like, he bought his hamstrings off of Temu,
right?
Instead of going and getting the name brand ones, and now he hurt. And we had to put Savage and somebody else in. So, like, we don't even – again, he don't even have all of his parts, but that's not the reason why we're losing, though.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, he's one of the guys that I've always looked at when he came to because he came out of Ole Miss. No,
I don't remember where he came out of.
I can't remember where he came.
Highly regarded.
But I remember when I was like, yo, this guy is a walking freak of nature. You could put him on the line. You could line him wide out. You could put him in different positions to make him effective. And then I'm like, well, damn, when is he going to play, though? Like, he's always hurt. And I'm saying to myself, because I think that if he stays healthy, he can. I mean, wait, hold on. Side note, y'all could have kept Mercedes Lewis if how long Mercedes Lewis been in the league?
No, so I joke about guys like Calvin. They brung in Calvin Ridley. Everybody, I was like, Calvin Ridley, my age.
Yeah,
that's more of a joke, even though he's old. Mercedes Lewis, literally, we were in the same class. We're in the same draft class. Like, how is he playing? Like, I don't know. People, I have a theory for guys who played that long. Like, Brett Favre has proven to be a terrible person. So when Brett Favre was playing all them years, I was like, oh, he owed child support. He got kids under the table. Like when we saw Frank Gore, I was like, oh, he got to keep playing because he got to pay these bills for these kids.
Adrian Peterson.
Now, the only person who didn't have that, but he hated his wife and his family, and we see that now, and that's Tom Brady. Tom Brady had one of the baddest women and making her own money. He stayed home for a few months and said, fuck this. I got to go back to go get my skull beat in. So he's like, it's safer on this football field than it is for me at home. But like when I see Mercedes owes debts or something, they hate who's the dude from your Cowboys who had all the concussions? Said he had to leave the tight end. And then he went in to do commentating.
Oh God! If you wouldn't have said his name, I would have, because he was the worst. God dang it!
Yeah,
I
he's an
can't.
awful commentator, but you can
Oh, he
tell
was
you can tell
horrible.
the concussions was giving him the business.
From
But
Tennessee. He played at Tennessee. Oh my God! And now I can't even think of his name. I can't think of his name right. If you wouldn't have said it, I would have been able to remember, because I remember like when he came back, I did a skit like Jerry Jones answering the phone. He was like, "Who is this again? You want to do what?" I'd have said, "Hell no," and hung the phone up in his face. But this is what I wanted to say too. Mercedes Lewis reminds me of Vince Carter. Vince Carter seemed like he didn't want to go home. Like, Vince, how many years you gonna play, bro? Go home, cut some grass, do something. God dang it! Now you got me thinking about it, because he's the tight end for the Cowboys who went on a trip with Romo when they were number one in the NFC. They had a bye week. This is when Romo was dating Jessica Simpson. They went to Cabo or something, came back, and they lost to the New York Giants. That's the year that the Giants went from the wild card spot and won the Super Bowl. God dang it! Now I cannot remember his name. I can see his face, because did they put him in the Hall of Fame, or they trying to get him in the Hall of Fame?
I think they're trying to talk about it. He's not there. I don't think he's been gone long enough. But yeah, man,
as I digress,
that's funny. You brought up Jerry Jones too. Tell me you've seen the Jamie Foxx video,
bro. I seen the caption. I did not want. You know what? I didn't watch it because I'm like, I'm not surprised. Because look, side note, because I know we talking about the Texans and the Jags, but side note, because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. I'm gonna tell you why I'm so upset, James, and give me a second, just a small second to rant just a little bit. You know why I'm so upset? I'm not upset that Dak got his money, right? Because if you can get it, go get it.
Go get it.
If you can get it, go get it. Listen, you got your money, and hopefully you can pay for the video to be erased. And you getting beat up on the beach, you can erase the video of you and Jason Witten. Thank you so much. You can erase the video of you and Ezekiel Elliott running around with penis-shaped water guns. Like, you can get rid of all this stuff. So cool, you got your money. Cool. This is why I'm mad at Jerry Jones, not Jerry Jones, the owner, Jerry Jones, the GM, because you have got to see these quarterback salaries rising like they are. And if you're a good general manager, hey, at some point, Dak is going to come up and he's going to hit the peak where quarterbacks are going to be commanding a large sum of money. I need to start putting myself in a position to whereas I can let Dak walk. Hey, look, we may have to, quarterback play may be down, may take a hit for 1 or 2 years, but we'll ramp it back up. I'll use that money that I saved from Dak to go get some other players and bring them in here, and we'll get this thing going like that. But you allowed yourself to get to this position, which I'm not surprised, because when Dak was on the rookie contract, you would not go out and spend money to help make this franchise better. You're always looking at, I don't give a damn as long as I can make money. How do I still make $6 billion a year? Am I still, my franchise still number one in making money, right? Oh, cool. I don't care what the fans think. I don't care. We don't never go to another NFC championship. Just make sure that I get my money. And that's why I'm so mad, man, because I'm like, it's crazy. And so this Titans, it's a podcast, it's a Titans podcast that tried to compare CJ, said that CJ's comp is Dak Prescott. And I said, you have lost your damn mind. CJ's comp is Dak Prescott. I said, right now, in less than 25 games into his NFL career, CJ Stroud is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott has been since he came into the league in 2016. The good thing is they get to play each other this year. Man, listen, everybody who showed up in training camp, James, so former NFL players, these NFL analysts and things like that, you get to talking to them about CJ Stroud, and they said, this kid is amazing. It's like the amount, I'm sorry, not the amount, but the quality of throws that he can make. He's so accurate. And he said he's so accurate, and his arm strength and his arm talent is so good. That's what helps. He does not have to get out of the pocket to run. When he gets out of the pocket, he's getting out of the pocket so he can see. And the way that because think about it, he's 6'3", Nico like 6'4", maybe 6'5". So when they start doing that scramble drill, they already, and it's crazy because they do the scramble drill, and it's like when CJ gets out the pocket, the receivers automatically, they just know what to do. That's why if you go back and you watch the game against the Indianapolis Colts in week 1, watch how many times CJ finds his receivers when he gets out of the pocket. And I mean, I'm talking about rolling out, throwing back across his body to Nico, who's wide open in the middle of the field, or dropping. I mean, remember against Indianapolis, he dropped a pass into Nico into double coverage. It was double coverage, and he put the ball right where only Nico could get it. So, man, when you look at when you bringing it back to the Texans, when you look at a player like that, man, what General Manager Nick Caserio did, and there was some questions about him. Jane, he was on the hot seat. He was on the hot. That Lovie Smith. When Lovie Smith got fired, the person that was sitting in the press conference in the front row looking at Nick Caserio eye to eye, Hannah McNair, looking at him like, hey, you got to get this thing together, or shoot, we're going to go out, we're going to get somebody else. So and I will say this, Nick may seem quirky to a lot of people. He may sit in the press conference with his sweater vest on or the jacket vest and start telling you about something he read about Michael Dell and how he built his corporation, or he might tell you something about how water can blase this, blase that. But the man has a great football mind and a great eye for talent, and getting him and with him and D'Amico together, being able to eye that type of talent, man, this team gonna be good for a very long time.
I mean, that's the scary part, but kudos to y'all. So we'll get into we'll be wrapping up. For those who don't know, I'm Big Game James _36. I'm here with my guy Big Star. I might have to we talked about this at the combo, man. I'm having fun doing this. We may have to do it around, even though I ain't got nothing to do around the AFC South about. But we may have to do it around the AFC South, a little show, just to, get some good football talked about, because there's a lot of posers out here that just talking about shit don't really know what they're talking about. But what are your predictions? And before we get to that, before you get to your prediction, what will be the key? What does Jacksonville need to do, in your opinion, to have success and potentially beat the Houston Texans? What do you think you would need to see from the Jaguars?
In order to beat the Houston Texans, what you have to do is you got to stop the offense, and you got to force turnovers. Like, if you force turnovers and get into a short field, then force turnovers or force 3 and outs on that offense, and get into some type of momentum, then you can beat the Houston Texans. If you get them down early enough, and because the Houston Texans can play from behind, they don't like playing. Of course, no team likes playing from behind, but last week, what happened in Minnesota was Minnesota jumped up on them 14-0. So now when you jump up to a 14-point lead, your whole defensive scheme changes, because now one, they can't run the ball because they don't have Joe. I'm not saying they can't, but not effectively, because you don't have Joe Mixon. 2, now they have to pass to get back into this game. So with Brian Flores calling the defense, what does Brian Flores say? Cool. You're not going to beat me over the top. You're not. I'm going to keep these 2 high safeties. I'm going to run this cover 2 and keep these 2 high safeties. You're not going to beat me over the top. You want to beat me? Methodically drive down the field, and which you're wasting time. But hey, take these little small dump plays that I'm going to give you. And that's what happened. When I was talking to Nico Collins on Wednesday, he said the way that they were playing them was, he said, one time I went in motion to see. He said, and Gilmore followed me like he was going into man, but then he stopped. And he said when he stopped at the end of the line, and he said Nico said he kept on going out to get to line up. And he said, when I stopped, I seen the safety on the hash mark. He said, so that's when I realized they're playing me inside out. So he has got the inside, he's got that, but they're not going to allow me to get into man coverage. And that's when, I mean, they were not going to go man coverage on him. And that's when the Texans were trailing. And so in order for the Jacksonville Jaguars to be successful against the Texans, they're going to have to get them down. But I'm going to be honest with you. Even when the Texans were down 14-0, they still didn't feel like they were out of the game. So you're going to literally have to outscore them, because think about this too, James. We've been speaking a lot about the offense and defense. Bro, they're this close to having double digits in sacks already in the first 3 games. Jeez. Like, if you look at it, that Houston Texans defense with those defensive ends with Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, they go look at the pressures. They had put a lot of pressure on his quarterbacks. And Will told me on Wednesday, he said, Sarge, we're this close. He says, we're turning the corner and we're going to have a breakout game here soon. He said, but the problem was against Minnesota is we got to him, but we couldn't get him. He said, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get him. And so now you think about it. You got that defense with those two. You also are getting some great interior play. I mean, Tim Settle Jr. came in and had 2 sacks last week. You're getting that. Stingley is going to pretty much shut down whatever side he's on. And the way that this young dog, and I mean that in a good way, he went to the University of Georgia, Kamari Lassiter, it's 2 rookies on that defense that is really making the difference in how this Houston Texans defense is playing. And that's Kamari Lassiter, the cornerback, and it's the safety Kalen Bullock out of USC. This guy is a ball hawk. He is athletic. He's rangy. He knows how to play his position. So even if the Texans get down, they have the weapons on the defensive side of the ball to get them back into games. So the only thing, they have to get the Texans down, to get them down big, switch their defense up. That's the only way, Jay. Or like D'Amico said, he said, the Houston Texans helped the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Houston Texans. That's kind of like the only way you can beat them, James. Like, the only way you can beat this team is they have to beat themselves. Last week, they beat themselves because they had a lot of pre-snap penalties that killed drives.
Yep.
Even when they started to get some type of momentum, pre-snap penalties killed drives. And James, I know you got to wrap it up, but man, I have to ask you this because I need to I need to know how you feel about this illegal formation on these tackles, man. Because
I think it's right. I think it's the right thing. You cannot be lined up like a wing. And that's really what they're doing. They're so far in the back, but I understand why. It's the biggest offense from a throwing perspective. The biggest mismatch on the field is a linebacker on a wide receiver. If we can catch you in that situation, you always want to exploit that. The biggest actual just one-on-one mismatch is today's defensive end against today's left tackles. They're just so much more athletic. They're just as big, just as strong, faster, more explosive, and they're going in a more natural position going forward. Whereas a tackle is going backwards and trying to stop you. And that's just hard. So what do you do to try to counteract somebody's speed rush and be able to take their bull rush? You line up back, because now if they're speed rush, you got 2 sets and then you punch. Or they're going to come right to you. And that's just the way the alignment is. You can only have, you have to be this. And what's crazy is everybody has to be on the same page, and you can create a natural, what's that? Maybe get my geometry. What is it? Is it concave? When it's like this, I don't know which one. Anyways, it's not like anyways, the natural half circle motion that you could get with the line, but you have to have your helmet has to break the center's plane or the next lineman's plane. So if your guards line up a little bit back deeper, then your tackles get the line back a little bit deeper. But they're not. It's always the one guy who's getting his behind whoop, who's afraid to get his behind whoop, and that's what happens. But
James, let me say
eventually it's tough. It's tough because again, there's some large Negroes being bred that can run very, very fast. And when you got like some of these guys like Myles Garrett, you got the Jags have too. It's just they never play to the ability. Like again, Trayvon Walker is a. I saw him at the Super Bowl, and I'm sitting here like, damn, I'm talking shit. Like I'm still young, and I'm ready to let these hands fly. Like that's a big old joker, man. Yeah. I didn't realize how big he was until I've seen him in pads, and I've seen him when I go to the games and when I cover practices. But like seeing him in a top off in a normal situation, you're like, yo. Yeah. It made me think about like a lot of fans talk a lot of shit to a lot of these guys, but they never in these scenarios with these guys. But so it's a little different. And then I'm not a small man. So I'm sitting here like that's a large man from another large man.
Yeah.
And then the only thing I believe he's not playing up to his level of ability. I don't trust any man with two last names. That's a female tendency, and females are confused. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, women get their hyphenated last names. Josh Allen was fine until he decided that he needed to hyphenate his last name. And then all of a sudden, confusion brought into his life, and he hasn't been rushing the passer the way that he needs to rush the passer.
What's his name?
Josh Allen. Josh Hines Allen.
I got you.
And listen, I'm not here. People can be like, it's a reason, and it's his sister plays in the WNBA. And I ain't got time for all that. I don't care about none of that.
Who is his sister?
Same last name. So somebody named Hines Allen in the WNBA.
Oh, Hines Allen. Okay.
That's who, or maybe she's Hines, but I think he did it so that everybody. I mean, we grown. You didn't go on your whole life being Josh Allen.
Gotcha. But James, here's my thing though. So. This is why I don't like it. Two reasons I don't like it. One, you remember when they changed the rule for roughing the passer?
How many times have they've done it so many times?
The last time they changed the rule for roughing the passer, was that like 3 years ago, 3 years ago? And you remember what happened? Each officiating crew had their own version of
interpretation.
Yep, right. Their own interpretation of roughing the passer. It's the exact same way with this.
You're right.
Formation. And like I put it like this: like Laramie got called for illegal formation last week. I don't know how many times. It's week 3. Laramie went to the refs for 3 weeks straight, 3 games straight, and say, "Where do you need me to be?" They tell him where he need to be. He lines up there, and they still call him for illegal formation. Now the false.
You know what they need to start doing? If you ever notice what wide receivers do when they're off and they're on, they always point to the referee, and the referee would. I hate that for them. It slows the game down. It definitely is annoying because it's making you think about something else that you don't need. The key issue in all of this, it's not the rules. It's the fact that we're making people who should be smart enough, because all these referees are really competent individuals. They're doctors, lawyers, judges. Like, if you look at what they actually do, like, it's crazy. But they need to stop hiring guys like that.
Yeah.
Your job needs to be
full-time, like NBA refs.
And if they want to, because they need to, they can take it and make you a college referee and an NFL. And so your whole week, you're only working, the latter half of the year.
Yeah.
You get paid very, very well. But like, your job is to officiate games, and you get judged based upon your performance in the games. But it's too much. You're making humans have to do error calls on a game that is so emotionally driven. Which again, there are things that you have no choice but to do it for. Like pass interference, you have to have it's the error, the way the game is going. But like when I look at target, like for example, Derwin James' penalty. BS. Why he's suspended? He's done way worse than that, and then that's what you want to suspend him for? That makes no sense. I'm with you on that. We're giving them too much control over the dictating of the games, which I personally believe if I know referees' names or if I know if I like everybody's gonna bitch, but I should not know you exist.
Yeah.
Like it takes away from the game if I know you made a call that changed the game. Like I'd rather you swallow the whistle than do that if nobody's truly getting effed up. So like, but I'm like, because again, roughing the passer, Trevor Lawrence got hit low. I thought that was supposed to be an automatic flag now, but they call it when they want it. Now, if it was Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, they're gonna call that right now. But
Danielle Hunter got pushed into Sam Darnold last week and got a rough in the passer. He got pushed into him, and so man, like I said, I just don't understand because it's crazy. They call him and Titus for that amount of illegal formation against the Vikings. Second half, Laramie lined up in the same spot, the exact same spot, no penalties. Titus was almost even with the center. He lined up almost on the line. No calls. And so that's what I'm saying. They're too inconsistent in how they're doing this. And so, like I said, I think I said it on my show earlier this week. I get that the letter of the law, I get that the rule is on paper. Cool. Everybody can read the rule. Everybody's interpretation is different because you got a different set of referees coming in every week. Mm-hmm. And so just like Titus said after the game, he's like, yo, for 2 weeks we've been lining up like this and there ain't been nothing wrong. Now all of a sudden we line up like this and we get these multiple illegal formations. So I just want to, as a former player, I just want to get your view on that. And then I'm going to ask you, what do you think it's going to take for the Texans to beat the Jags? Show up.
That hurricane shift to the west. And Joe Osteen has to open up his church for us. Something I don't know, man. Like it's gonna, but the reality is show up. They're gonna need some guys on defense to play a little bit more lights out than what they've been doing. So it'll be tough with injuries. But in particular, what's going to happen from what you've said, the Texans have started out slow.
Yeah.
And that means your offense doesn't have the opportunity to start off slow. And with Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., you've got the wide receiver weapons to be able to challenge them. So they just got to be in sync and really just do some things that are going to confuse that defense that's going to bring pressure to Trevor, which is what I would do. Yeah. I'm going to force Trevor to have to play like a top 15 quarterback when right now I'd argue is he top 25 or top 30 at this juncture. So, but if they're able to do that, I don't think the running game is going to really get as involved until they open it up with the pass. And that's kind of just my thought process with that. That's the only way. The only way you can beat them is to press them out of their game plan by making your – because people don't realize that sometimes your best defense is an aggressive offense. Yeah. Because if the offense is scoring and the other side feels that if we don't score right now, they're going to score again and they're going to make this game out of control, it makes you deviate from your game plan. And now once you get somebody outside of their comfort zone, or they have to deviate from their game plan, you control and dictate the game. One thing the Jags have not done very well in the last few games, going back into last year, is they have not dictated the game. And when they did, they had the opportunity to lay the knockout blow, and they fumbled the ball on the goal line. And that was against the Dolphins. So they just got to – that's basically just really what it all comes down to. They've got to be able to go out and change that. But that's easier said than done, considering – you got a good young coach with some good young players that are out there motivated to not only win but be successful. And even then, like the culture of the Titans, and I hate words like culture, but even when Bill O'Brien was there, like the AFC South has always been down, and the Texans seem to have always been controlling it. Since Peyton Manning's left, the Texans have controlled the AFC South. So this is something that they feel a little bit more used to than what Jags have on currently right now. So I owe you from like 5 years ago or some mess like that.
Yeah. Denny too. And Denny, look, and you know what? Denny, I know you watching. I know you watching right now. You know why I'm mad at Denny?
Why?
Because when I caught up with Denny last year through it was through one of those social media things we use. I said, hey man, hey, you still owe me dinner. Where you gonna be? Nah, Sarge, I got you. I'm gonna let you know. And then next thing I know, I get to see the pictures of y'all hanging out. This and that. I was like, oh, so these two guys was hanging out and they ain't even want to invite me because they know they owe me dinner. So okay.
Nah, it's not even like that, man.
I didn't even want to invite me.
Hey, listen. Indian, I tell people we have this thing on our channel. We call it an all-in membership. Yeah. Wherever I go, they get to go. So I'm like, if you want to know, I tell them it's only one rule in Indianapolis. What you see stays there. You can talk about it amongst friends, but don't you post nothing. It's like Vegas. What happens in Indy stays in Indy. Because we're going to be at the CAA party. We're going to be at a whole bunch of other stuff. And you're going to see your favorite NFL personnel and coaches relax. They're going to have their hair down because that's a big networking event. But I'm going to go to prom. I'm going to get some steak. I'm going to get that hot-ass shrimp cocktail. That's the only time I eat shrimp cocktail is when I go to Indianapolis. Yeah. And I'm going to be at Burn Cigar Lounge at the top because that's where you get a lot of the behind-the-scenes information and a lot of stuff. And then and I guess the first night, everybody's there. We got with the Colored Writers of America Association thing that we got to go do.
Did you say colored writers?
Yeah, it ain't nothing but black people. So like that's we can be what we want to be, man. But it was real ethnic in there last year. But anyways, man, I appreciate you, dog. We'll link up on Sunday.
For sure.
Have break some bread. Hey, okay. How's the food in the press box with the days? Do they do good, or is it just? Am I going to be disappointed?
Oh no, man! They had and they added some more stuff to the press box this year. Hey, I put it like this, man. I'm trying to think who has had better press box food than the Texans, because the Texans are listen, they top three. They top three as far as concerned. And I haven't been to every stadium. I'm gonna get to go to some more stadiums this year, but no, I can't think. They got really good. Oh, hey, Cowboys got really good food.
I believe it. I believe Cowboys. I believe Jerry don't play there. Jerry's problem. I just don't want to eat because Jerry reminds me too much of Diddy right now. I don't want to eat his food and then to be drugged, and then next thing you know, we wilding out here, man. Jerry brought up bad memories of me when I went to the combine as a player. Yeah, they be looking at you, man. Like it's the gayest time, and for these men to hate the community as much as they claim and scare the gay people as they claim, boy, they sure say some very gay stuff during the combine, man. And I remember a guy went in front of me. Now it was there; you couldn't help but see it. It was there, but you wouldn't. I wasn't expecting to hear a guy say, "Oh my God, that man right there is packing," and basically, that's what Jerry basically described one of his runs. It's sexual harassment what Jerry did.
Oh, for sure.
Sure. I mean, he knew the measure. I'm like, is Jerry out here with? Is Jerry go around and some people be like, how bad you want to make this team? And he got a tape measure in his pocket because that was a very specific measurement that he gave for that young man.
I've been hearing people say what he said, like on podcasts. I heard what they said. Like I said, I haven't heard the audio, and I refuse to listen to it because I mean, like I said, I'm not surprised though, because ain't Jerry Jerry 80, right?
Yeah.
And so you think about it, man. Sometimes
he's a frat boy. I think he was in the frat in Arkansas. I'm telling you, man, them white frat boys.
He forget where he is sometimes, man. Think about it. He's old. He getting old. He getting up there, man. And no matter how much plastic surgery he has, it ain't gonna stop Father Time, and it's not gonna stop his brain from thinking that. I mean, listen, I'm 52 going on 53. Sometimes I have to sit back and think about, hey, did I have these clothes on last Wednesday? Because I don't want to wear the same thing I wore last week. Did you know after they get washed, you be thinking like, did I wear these? Man, I don't know. I can't tell you what. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know if I had to think about what I had on Monday. Anyway, if I have that problem, what do you think? And going through everything that we got to go through, what do you think a billionaire's mind is? Shoot, man, I was in front of a billionaire. The Houston Rockets have a new training facility a brand new training center that they just opened up, and the owner Tillman Fertitta was there. and he's talking, and I'm saying to myself, I'm listening to him. I'm like, he know where he at, but when you that rich, you just say what you want to say. Because he said some things. I was just like, hey man, I don't think you're supposed to be saying that in front of us. Like, I don't think that's. But what does he care? He's a multi-billionaire. And that's how Jerry is. Jerry don't care. He does not care at all. And guess what? Some would say, I mean, Jerry feel like, hey, I'm paying for him. I say what I want to say about him.
Listen, man. I'm a history major.
Yeah.
I love everything about history, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's only one reason that you own a sports team.
Uh-oh.
There's only 32 people, excuse me, it's a lot. There's only 31 individuals who have the opportunity to own an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 30 individuals that have the opportunity to own an NBA team, right? It's 30 NBA teams, right? Or was it 28?
I gotta think. I just looked at it the other day. I don't remember.
I know it's less baseball teams. Bottom line, let's just condense it. Between all the major pro sports in America, there's only about 120 opportunities. And some people own more than one. The only reason you own them, and it's not a black or white thing. You want to own people. You literally own people. You draft and pick the best one every year. And if you want to trade with another owner of people, you have to trade. It's commodities trading. And it's the ultimate flex of a billionaire. You can be a billionaire, but that doesn't mean you get to own these people. I own these people on a field, in the sun, in the South, for the most part. I got 53 of the most in shape, well-trained, aggressive people that I own. And before people go into thinking about American slavery, I get it. In Rome, do you know who some of the highest paid people were in Rome? The gladiators. But they were also slaves. But they were paid. They had their own endorsement deals. They were free to roam among us, but they better have their ass in that ring fighting for their life. And if they're done, they can be traded and sold however they want to be sold.
You didn't call Jerry Jones Calvin Candy from Django.
That's it. That's not what I said. He goes to the one person, he's like, come on, bring yourself in and get you something warm, cold to drink. Again, if I were as a black male, if I were a billionaire, I'd want to own people too. I'd be trying to own the NFL franchise too.
So Michael Jordan owned people too.
I would be nice. I think I would be a good owner of people, but I would want to own people.
You heard me?
You said what?
Michael Jordan owned people at one point too.
Michael Jordan owned people. And look at his eyes and look at all the stuff. Look where he was roaming and doing stuff. It's the same thing as being a top booster. Why would you, let's be for real. In what part of American history I'm only saying this not because it's more of a descriptor. For the most part in American history, the top 1% have been mostly white males. Ever since before we broke off from the country, it's been that. When in the history of America have you seen white males be that philanthropic that they just want to give millions and millions of dollars to somebody without control, without an ROI? That's not even capitalism.
Right.
But if I give all this money if I become a billionaire and I give $1 million to Florida State, I better be able to, if I got to use the bathroom, I better be able to walk to the 50-yard line, whip my dick out and piss on it if I want to. Now, I'm not going to, but I'm just saying when you give that kind of money, that's why I always tell our fans, I'm like, hey, we got to fire or I'm not going to games. I say, trust me, they don't care if you don't go to the games.
Right.
Devo Moore don't come to the games. They start caring what Devo Moore said. They start caring what some of these other guys are because they got names on buildings.
Wow.
But, it's just, like I said, it's a funner, it's a different way to look at it. But at the same time, you're right. Jerry don't give a damn. Jerry said, man, I bet you going to cash that. You ain't that offended that I knew your size, that you ain't going to cash that check.
Hey, look, next time you have me on here, can we talk about the NIL stuff? I can't. You
broke up. What'd you say? Next time you on?
Yeah, can we talk about these NIL deals and now these colleges going back on their words?
Listen, if somebody told me that they were going to give me X amount of dollars,
you need it right,
and then they did, and then I had an incentive on it that if I could get more, And then when I held up my end of the bargain, you didn't hold up your end of the bargain. I'm not going to go there either. But like, black people didn't become lazy until they stopped working for free. Student athletes didn't become villainized until they stopped working for free. And it's not my money. You cannot preach capitalism to these young men for we're indoctrinating them into what makes America exceptional. It is capitalism from kindergarten, from 5 years old to 18, 19. You can't teach them this. And then when they participate in capitalism, you get mad that they're participating in capitalism because that's what you told them makes America great. And if our goal is to make America great again, what better way to make America great again than to have everybody do that? Because I've heard all the excuses, but then I tell people, you got to remember, I grew up with T-Pain.
Yeah.
So when I'm coming up, T-Pain is making hits like I'm Sprung, I'm in love with a stripper. My friends that I grew up with are going on tour making millions of dollars. While I'm over here can't get a check for being on a video game. And people are like, well, what about accountant? What are they going to do when they make all that money? And nobody asked T-Pain what he was going to do. His ass hired a fucking accountant. And that's what he did. I said, hell, I'm 40 and I have tax issues when you make too much money sometimes. So again, it just becomes aggravating to people. But college football has never been more exciting to me as it's been in the last couple of years. Same thing with the NFL. Free agency was going to kill the NFL, what they said. NFL, every time they renew a deal, it's landmark. So, but now we could definitely get on one day and just chop it up. I love it for the players, but I also tell the players there's another side to that. You go out there and you don't perform, you ain't gonna make that bread no more. Do you want to make? So I told them if you chase the NIL, you can miss the NFL. But if you chase the NFL, you ain't gonna never miss on the NIL. And some of these numbers that they're putting out, like I put it like this: if Shadur Sanders is making what they're saying he's worth, right? Why would he leave? Why not stay? You got another year. Why would you leave to go? Because he makes allegedly, which I know is BS, he makes more than Caleb Williams.
Wow.
In college, $10.99. So he gets to touch the money before the IRS touches the money.
Right.
Why would I leave playing only 12 games, 13 max, bodies in control, in a college town where everybody worships me?
Yep.
If that's the case, the NFL should be more panicked.
Yeah.
But the NFL is not panicked because that NFL check is still bigger than what most people get in the NIL checks. Yeah. So, like, again, it's a lot of people who have never seen that kind of money before. And I blame the media because there's a lot of us in the media don't make a fraction of what they think these young men are making. And I think it's like for me to agree with Deion, it takes a lot.
I know this too. I know.
I agreed with Deion when he said the way that they report it is strictly out of jealousy. Because they believe that young men are making more than they make and they have to work harder at their jobs. But I always tell people, you can be exceptional at what you do and make a lot of money. If you're a part of 2% of the population, if me and you were a part of 2% of all sports reporters, we would be making Stephen A. Smith money and we would not have a care in the world. College athletes are part of 2% of the people who ever play their sport. Why would you think they shouldn't make money? So, but anyways,
thanks for having me on, man. And look, I'm gonna make sure that once I do this, because I'm on my show, I'm gonna talk about how many wins does it take? How many wins will it take for Travis Hunter to win the Heisman Trophy? And on the flip side of that, if Colorado reaches that amount of wins, how much? Wait, hold on. Because I wrote this down, but I got it somewhere else. How many wins does it take for Travis Hunter to win the Heisman Trophy this year? And if the team reaches that amount of wins, will the hate for Deion prevent him from getting it because of the hate from the media? So I'm doing that on the show this week.
Yeah, I'll tell you my thought right now. I think he needs quarterbacks to lose. He needs Cam Ward to lose from out of Miami. But if he keeps doing what Travis Hunter, I saw when that hit, it wasn't anything else that Travis Hunter's done. Yeah. That hit on the goal line where he made that running back fumble.
Yep.
I stopped everything I was doing. I said, that's the best player in college football right there. I said, I knew he was good. I said, that right there, isolated moment, you versus somebody else. You not only make the tackle, because it was first down, and the tackle doesn't end the game. You end the game.
Yep.
And you took up so much. They had to care about you so much to play the Hail Mary play before. Have you heard him talk about it? Yeah. He knew, line me up over here by myself. I'm going to take the attention away from other guys. And he made a big catch before that. It's just, he's just stinking good. Shedeur, I don't know. Travis, I know about Travis. Travis is good.
Shedeur too stiff for me, but we'll talk about that another time.
That's your Dak Prescott.
Hey, you know what my theory is, right? Have I told you this theory yet? You ever seen it? My theory is the Cowboys are going to find some way to get Shedeur on the team and hire Dion as the coach.
You know what? Kudos to him if that happens, man. Kudos to him, man. I can't even just take personal grudge aside, man. If he does that, God bless it, man. I will be like, there's no love like the love of a father. The one thing I'll give Dion credit for is that Dion said his son was a Power 5 quarterback, and nobody believed in it. So he took it up on his own right to go get a job at Jackson State, win enough to go get a Power 5 job, and make his son the Power 5 quarterback. Now, we can say that's daddy ball all we want, which it is, but at the end of the day, hey,
I love it, man. Hey, look, nepotism and capitalism run hand in hand in America.
If I do what I'm supposed to do, my son will be my sons will be taken care of to be able to do whatever the hell it is they want to do. That's that's love right there. So, all right, brother. I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, Texans gonna win this weekend. All right.
Fair enough, man. Everybody, that's my guy, Big Sarge, right there. Go make sure you go give him a follow. Great, unique perspective. Definitely when it comes to not just the Houston Texans, but Houston sports in general. I love what he does. Love hanging out with him. I did not know he was 52, man. He do not look. This boy Black do not crack unless you on crack. So if you stay hydrated, actually, hold on real quick. He's still back there. He took his hat off. I'm going to look at this man's hairline.
Hey, man, look, I got waves too, man. I got waves.
This is something to behold, man. This is a 52-year-old man with no stress in his life on his hairline. Now, this man is looking good. Is that Beijing? Is that really yours?
Bro, this is mine. Look.
I mean, ain't no gray in there. Are you dying? Is it just for me?
No, it's some gray like right here. You see it all in my beard.
But I can see it in your beard, but I'm just saying when you took the hat off, I had to put it back on.
But look, this is because me and my wife are empty nesters. Don't nobody else live in the house with us. So everybody got to communicate with us through these, and I can control this. So
there it is, man. You say stay hydrated, mind your business, and don't let these children bother you, right? All right, brother.
All right,
man. Appreciate you guys for chopping it up with me. We will see you guys in the morning on Big Games BS. Make sure you go subscribe to the channel. We'll be talking about college, NFL, and we'll definitely be talking about this stuff, these new happenings at UNLV, and how it should affect college football. Peace.